Hello and welcome to OZChris versus Marvel Comics for September week 4, here with reviews of The Amazing Spider-Man number 30, Powers of X number 5, and The Superior Spider-Man number 11. So starting off with the Absolute Carnage tie-in, Amazing Spider-Man number 30, written by Nick Spencer, art by Ryan Ottley, coloring by Nathan Fairbairn, the cover by Ottley and Fairbairn. So, little bit of a this issue, this tie-in is actually split in between. There's the flashback stuff and then there's the stuff going on with Absolute Carnage, but there is a character that is featured in both, so it kind of connects to one another. So the flashback stuff the flashback stuff focuses on after Kindred attacked Mysterio in ASM number 25 here in Ravencroft Institute. He goes to visit one of the patients there, which happens to be Norman Osborn. And if you remember, Norman still believes that he is Cletus Cassidy after the events of the end of Slot's ASM run. So after a brief recap of the history of the symbiotes, the basic history, we continue from after this, pretty much straight after the events of Absolute Carnage number 3, where Carnage snuck his way into the safe house to collect the rest of the codexes from the members of the Avengers, Spidey, and all that. So Spidey, first instinct, protect the kids. So he needs to protect Normie and needs to protect Dylan. So he goes off to hide them, but he is confronted by Carnage Norman. So in Absolute Carnage, Norman was given the symbiote and turned into regular Carnage, while the actual Carnage is God Carnage, the symbiote dragon Carnage or whatever. But Spidey has to deal with him, and then also actually there's more flashbacks in here to a party for one Harry Osborn, and the story moves from present day to Spidey fighting Carnage Norman to the flashback of Harry's surprise party, and it does seem like it's connecting to what's going on with Kindred. I was talking to someone on Discord about this, but it's kind of hinting maybe Kindred is Harry, given how Kindred speaks to Norman. He doesn't outright say dad, he just calls him Norman, but how he talks to Norman, how he refers to him and as if he knows him quite well, very closely. I think it's kind of hinting that maybe Kindred is Harry Osborn. We'll have to wait and see. We still don't know who the actual the identity of Kindred is, but it does seem like with this issue that it might be Harry. We'll have to wait and see. So story, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. This is a good story. Very interesting that even though the fact it is a Absolute Carnage tie-in, it really still is kind of continuing the story of Kindred, what he's doing and all that. It does connect to that in a way. So, and as a tie-in, this is kind of completely optional. You don't need to read this to understand Absolute Carnage, unless issue number 4 says otherwise. But so far, you don't need to read this to understand Absolute Carnage. Art and coloring, I'm going to give a 4.5 out of 5. The art and coloring here is great. Definitely some really good scenes in here. The cover, I'm going to give a 4.5 out of 5 as well. Great art and coloring, great looking cover. So on to Powers of X number 5, written by Jonathan Hickman, art by R.B. Silver, coloring by Marte Gracia, the cover by the aforementioned two artists. So starting off with year 1, Xavier is talking with Forge, asking him to create certain backups for data. He needs at least 5 for the system that he's creating. As he says, a main 3 backups and 1 for, as he says, unforeseen consequences. But then it moves forward to year 10 of the X-Men, where Xavier and Magneto meet with Emma Frost. They ask her for her assistance with their plans with Krakoa and all that, but mainly they're talking to her about they're creating a mutant government, but they need someone on the side who's part of the government, but is also running this kind of this shady stuff. As Emma puts it to them, no, because you cannot trust the distribution of your product to humans, and the Hellfire Corporation already has the international reach to do so. You want me to become the East India Trading Company of Mutatum, don't you? So they want her to handle all the business side, and as I said earlier, they also want her to handle the shady stuff. But they need her to bring back Sebastian Shaw as someone to assist her with the job. And that's mainly what goes on with this issue, as Xavier's message still goes out to all of the mutants, even Namor, but Namor refuses to join him. And then we have some stuff in the future in year 1000 with the Phalanx. That's toward the end of the book, so I'm not going to particularly spoil what goes on there. So story, I'm going to say 4 or 5. There's a really good issue. Not particularly getting a lot of answers, but we are getting a lot more information. What I will say this issue does well is actually setting up at least 2 of the titles that are spawning out after this. You know, you have X-Men, New Mutants, X-Force Marauders, Excalibur, Fallen Angels, and all that. What this issue does well is to set up Marauders and X-Force, particularly the former, with since I believe Emma Frost is going to be part of Marauders. I think she is. So, and then you have them telling it, oh well, we also need someone to do like kind of the the shady stuff as well. So we need anything else, all the serious shady stuff as well. So a little bit of X-Force as well, but I think mainly Marauders is what they're setting up. And this issue does it really, really well. Art and coloring, I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. The art and coloring in this is great. Really, really, really good. The cover, I'm going to give a 4 out of 5. I think it's a good looking cover. It is kind of simple, and Sinister really doesn't have anything to do with this issue. It is mainly more of a Emma Frost focused issue. So I think it would have been more fitting if Emma Frost was on the cover, but instead of Sinister, I mean, Sinister, as we've seen in previous issues, had some part to play with what's going on with House and Powers of X. But yeah, I think it would have been much better if Emma Frost was on the cover. So on to the Superior Spider-Man number 11, written by Christos Gage, art by Mike Hawthorne, coloring by Jordi Belair, and the cover by Hawthorne and Maury Hollowell. So Otto has been attacked by Norman Osborn from a different universe from who appeared in Spider-Geddon, and he has gone to kidnap James, the kid that Norman saved in the helped befriended, looked after from the first arc of this series. And Norman captures him, and he gives Otto an ultimatum. He wants to prove to everyone that this Spider-Man is still Otto Octavius. He's a fraud and a killer. So if Otto wants James returned safe and unharmed, he has to kill 3 innocent people. No, as he says, no cheating, no criminals, no terminally ill patients. Three solid citizens with everything to live for. And Otto kind of gives into his plans, but he wants to find a way to around this. So he calls on the help of Mephisto to make a deal with him. Otto Octavius is what Norman Osborn wants. Otto Octavius is what he's going to get. And Otto wants to make a deal with Mephisto to make this happen. So Otto is making a really big sacrifice to save someone. Because part of Mephisto's deal is that all that Peter Parker stuff, everything that's influenced him, all of that will go away if he makes the deal. And I think it's assumed to be permanently. So everything that's helped make Otto a hero now, it's going to go. And there's the risk of him just going back to being Otto Octavius, who he's trying not to be anymore. So story, I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. This is great. This is a really great issue. The stakes are really high, especially for Otto. There's a child in danger, a child that looks up to him, and a child that he's cared for and looked out for as well. And he's on the edge. He doesn't know what to do, and he's going to make a huge sacrifice in order to save him. And there is the huge potential that it's going to cost him. And this issue portrays that and does this really, really well. The art and the coloring, I'm going to give a 4 out of 5. I think the art and coloring was good here. The cover, I'm going to give a 4 out of 5 as well. I don't particularly like that it's just a plain black background, but I think this shot of Norman kind of exposing Otto, which he literally did. He did expose that the superior Spider-Man is Otto Octavius. I think it is a really good cover and captures what's going on. So that is it for those 3. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.